elections and, of course, many other elections across the country. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we are on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show, the FM AM dial KSHP. We're on Twitch. We're on TikTok. We are everywhere, and we appreciate you being a part of a show. Wow, what a time to be doing a political news talk show, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot to get to and a lot to talk about. Former presidential candidate Joe Walsh will be coming up here in just a few minutes. I have a bone to pick with him, and it has something to do with Donald Trump's comments in regards to Liz Cheney. So we'll be talking about that here in a few minutes. Former Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley is going to be joining us in studio in hour number 2. And this election is not just about the presidential election. There are elections all across the country for members of the school board, mayors, assemblymen, you name it. And there's one MAGA Republican who's running for the school board here locally, and this is happening all across the country, who's anti-gay, who's a racist, who's a bigot. And that's the sad and sick part about what's going on in this country right now. So we're going to talk to her opponent about that coming up in hour number 2 as well. But I want to get right to this to start. This is a big prediction. You know, I've talked a lot about Alan Lichtman, who's predicted 9 of the last 10 presidential elections correctly. He's on the side of Kamala Harris. He believes she's going to win a close election. Well, John Ralston has done this show plenty of times before. He's a friend of the show, a personal friend of mine. Ralston from the Nevada Independent is usually right as well. He just put out his opinion, and I got to be honest, I'm a little surprised at what he said about Nevada, because he thinks that Kamala Harris is going to squeak by and win Nevada as well, which is good news, because I thought he was going to predict that Trump was going to win Nevada. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but he's not only predicting that Harris is going to win a close race in Nevada, but Harris is going to win the presidential election. So you've got two very respected people that put out their predictions, Alan Lichtman and John Ralston. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. So over the weekend, if you may or may not have been paying attention, some Jeffrey Epstein audio has been released. And many MAGA Republicans, if they disagree with you, they'll call you a pedophile. Yet Jeffrey Epstein, in his own words, recorded by author Michael Wolff, saying literally that Donald Trump was one of, if not his best friend. Have a listen to this.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight.
So I need the dump. Just give me Donald.
First, it's fun. And so you probably know he had a scalp reduction. Because he had the same male pattern movement that we all have. He had his scalp movement, which is hysterical.
Now, the audio, while a little bit difficult to understand, Jeffrey Epstein has heard multiple times in this interview calling Donald Trump his, quote, closest friends. He's talking about Donald Trump having a scalp surgery, whatever you would call that, for the fake hair that he has. And he talks about a number of different things in this interview. But most importantly, he calls Donald Trump his closest friend, Jeffrey Epstein. But they want to call Joe Biden a pedophile, right, for sniffing kids' hair, right? They want to call him the pedophile. And this is how stupid this attorney Haba is. She is, I would call her drop dead stupid. Haba, who lost when she was representing Donald Trump, has now become a star on the campaign. After this audio was released over the weekend, let me repeat, after the Jeffrey Epstein audio was released over the weekend, where Epstein is calling Donald Trump multiple times his closest friend, listen to what Miss Haba said at a campaign event before introducing Donald Trump. Have a listen to this.
How about that Epstein's Island list? I want to see that list.
Yeah, that's brilliant. What a brilliant thing to say. What a really smart person. Jeffrey Epstein just calls Donald Trump his closest friend, and then you got Donald Trump's, I guess, former attorney saying, boy, I want to really see who's on that Epstein list. Can you be any dumber? I mean, really, can you be any dumber? Yeah, I'd like to see who's on that Epstein list as well, since Donald Trump was apparently Jeffrey Epstein's, quote, closest friend, according to Jeffrey Epstein himself. But they want to call all you guys pedophiles, right? The right wants to call the left pedophiles. You cannot make this stuff up. Let me be very clear on this. We know that Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser, proven in a court of law. We know that there have been over 30 women that have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault, rape, including his ex-wife in court documents. And I personally believe that Donald Trump hung out with Jeffrey Epstein on Epstein Island. I personally believe Donald Trump was with underage women. I personally believe that. That's my personal opinion based on the fact alone that Jeffrey Epstein said that Donald Trump was his closest friend and Donald Trump has a history of sexual abuse. The fact that Donald Trump has talked about his daughter. She's very voluptuous. If she wasn't my daughter, I probably would date her. So yes, let's see that Epstein list. I wonder why Donald Trump is so hesitant to want to release it. He's been asked about this before. I think we all know the answer to that, and we all know the answer why Donald Trump refuses to show his medical records. I believe he had a stroke at Walter Reed. If you remember back, I believe it was 2019, might have been 2018, where he made that emergency trip to Walter Reed Medical Center, but nobody seems to want to release any information on what happened. No records, no medical records. Why is that? Because he doesn't want you to see his health records. That's why. He doesn't want to debate Kamala Harris. Why? Because he knows she wiped the floor clean with him the first time, and she would have done the exact same thing the second time because he's a coward. He's a draft-dodging coward. Now, while all this stuff is going on, we all know what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney, the despicable comments about, well, what if she had 9 barrels pointed at her face? Despicable statement. Well, now Donald Trump, at another rally, had this to say about the media. Have a listen to this.
A little bit of intelligence, and I have a piece of glass over here, and I don't have a piece of glass there. And I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind that.
I don't mind that. Somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. I don't mind that. It's the former president of the United States. Somebody would have to shoot through the fake news media. I wouldn't mind that. Why do you think somebody sent pipe bombs to CNN? Because of Donald Trump's rhetoric that incites violence. Now he's talking about, again, he goes to the fake news nonsense again. And some of his deplorable supporters, because that's what they are. They're just disgusting, despicable people. The types of people that laugh at stuff like that are the same kinds of people that laugh about the jokes that were made at MSG about black people, about Jews, about Muslims, about Puerto Ricans. The same people that laugh at jokes like that are the same people that laugh about jokes like the one I just played for you. There's nothing funny about that because it can incite violence, and we know that there are crazy people out there that are capable of doing crazy things. There's nothing funny about that statement. And we need to take his comments very seriously. I do. Now, let me be very clear on this. I'm going to be as honest about this as I can. If Donald Trump is elected tomorrow, do I believe he would hire people to kill Liz Cheney? No, I don't. I don't believe that that would happen. Do I believe that Donald Trump wants members of the media to be killed? I actually don't believe he truly wants that to happen. However, the comments need to be taken seriously because it can incite violence. I don't believe Donald Trump ever truly believed in his heart or in his mind or in his gut that he won the 2020 election. But when you lie and you say things that aren't true that can get people upset and cause emotion and anger, we get something called January 6th. When you lie, and in this case, attack the media and talk about if people, were shooting to get to me, I wouldn't mind if they shot through the media first. I'm paraphrasing. That's basically what he said. That can incite violence. and it's dangerous. And when the Marco Rubios of the world and others are interviewed over the weekend, they say, that's not really what he meant. You know what he was trying to say. And when you see these MAGA Republicans curl up into a pretzel, which they've been doing every day for 9 years, it gets old after a while. Why can't a Marco Rubio just say, you know what, that's not the verbiage that I would use. I disagree. But they won't do any of that stuff. The Byron Donalds, the Marco Rubios, the Ted Cruzes of the world, those who stand by Donald Trump with every word that he says, even though when they were running for president, they said he was unfit for office, among other things, habitual liar, unfit for office. But now when he makes those types of incendiary comments, and I think incitement of violence, I don't think there's any question about that, they defend it. And he's already setting us up for his failure if he loses. And make no mistake about it, if he loses tomorrow, which I hope he does, and I think many of you hope as well, it will be nobody's fault but his own. His campaign staff and his surrogates have been spinning for him day after day after day. If Donald Trump loses, which I believe he will, it will be nobody's fault but his own. He can't stay on message. He will not talk about the future. He will not talk about policy. He'll go to personal insults. He'll be attacking Kamala Harris. That's what this man does. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it's getting exhausting. And we all have a decision to make if you haven't voted already, with tomorrow being election day. We need to take what this man says seriously. Doesn't mean we have to take him seriously as a human being, but we certainly have to take what he says seriously. And even though you might not think that he wants to execute members of the media, or he roots for that, or he wants to execute Liz Cheney, the fact that he makes statements like this should be serious enough for you to say, you know what, I'm not going to vote for this guy. He's danger. He's a danger to this country. He's a threat to our democracy. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I'll put it to you like this. If Donald Trump does win, this type of language is going to continue. So to talk to us a little bit about this and many other issues 24 hours before election day, it is always a pleasure. We've been doing it with him for years now, and for him to come on a day before the election is awesome. Always love having former presidential candidate, former Congressman Joe Walsh joining us now on the show. Joe, always a pleasure to have you on, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you, Brian. Good to be with you, boss.
Thank you so much for being here. All right, Joe. So you took a little bit of flack. Let's start with this. Not defending Donald Trump, but you didn't believe that it was a violent threat, the statements that Donald Trump made about Liz Cheney. So here's my thoughts on this, Joe, and I want to know whether you agree or not, because I think I understand where you were coming from, even though we might not agree on this. Do I believe that Donald Trump wants to murder Liz Cheney, or he wants, 9 barrels pointed at her face? Probably not. But what I also say is it's inciting violence. And that type of rhetoric and language should never be used by anybody with a platform, especially somebody like Donald Trump. What do you say to that?
I agree with everything you just said. Brian, I agree with everything you just said. I know I caught a lot of flack for that. And I know the Trump campaign retweeted it. The only point I was making was this. Donald Trump did not call for the execution, the public execution by a firing line of Liz Cheney. And that's what everybody jumped on. Oh my God, he's calling for the public execution of Liz Cheney. No, he wasn't. But everything you just said is exactly right. He's inciting violence. He's making very clear that when he becomes president, he's going after his enemies. It's just one more of a million things he's said that make clear he's unfit to be president.
I've heard from people that are close to the Trump campaign that there's a lot of people around him that are very angry that he's not talking about policy, that he's not talking about the future. Some people actually think that he's doing this intentionally. I don't know if I would go that far, but I do want to get your thoughts on this. There are some people I've talked to within the campaign that have told me that they feel like he's doing some of this stuff on purpose, that maybe he doesn't even want to win. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think there's any credence to that?
My first reaction, Brian, is so what? So what? Anybody who works for that unfit asshole, that horrible human being, deserves everything they get. When you decide to work for and with Donald Trump, screw you. You deserve anything and everything. I feel no sympathy for anybody who works with him. Do I think he's trying to lose the election on purpose? No. I think he not only has he always been a horrible human being, I think he's losing it upstairs. So I think he's also nuts. It is what it is. He shouldn't be elected.
I agree. If you're just joining us, former presidential candidate Joe Walsh joining us. So, Joe, here we are, one day away from Election Day. I've given my predictions. You told me last time we spoke, I think it was like a few weeks ago, and you felt like Donald Trump had a slight edge. I want to ask you the same question now. My opinion hasn't changed. I think Harris wins, but I think it's going to be very close. You've been all over the country, right? Republicans for Harris. You've spoken to so many moderate Republicans, and you've done such a great job in doing so. I want to get your thoughts right now. Has it changed at all?
Yes. I think, Brian, the last time you called for a prediction might have been 3 or 4 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think she wins. And look, what do any of us know? Nobody knows nothing. But I think she wins. I think she wins by more than people think. And I say that for 2 reasons. I've been on the ground almost every day for the past 3 months in Nevada, Michigan, you name it, a battleground state. 2 things I've been hit with over and over. There is utter exhaustion with Trump, and it's been increasing, Brian, every week I've been out there. I'm mostly talking to independents and Republicans. There is utter exhaustion with the Trump crap show. The other thing that I've been bombarded with every single day I've been out there is Republicans who tell me they're going to vote for Kamala Harris, but they can't say anything publicly. So I think there's a big movement afoot that will support her that's not being picked up by the polls. That's my belief. That's my hope.
Agree. What do you think this country is going to look like when Donald Trump, we know he's never going to concede. He won't concede 2020. You know, he's definitely not going to concede if he loses tomorrow, even if we find out several days later. Are you worried? Are you afraid what we might see as far as political violence?
I'm scared to death. I'm scared to death. Brian, nobody knows who's going to win tomorrow. But what you and I know for sure is this. Trump, sometime tomorrow night, will declare victory before the results are known. And then once the results are known, in a day or 2 or 3, hopefully sooner, Donald Trump will never, ever accept the result. We know those 2 things for certain. He's doing the same thing he did in 2020. He's priming his supporters to not accept an election loss. That will lead to violence. I have no doubt. Will it look like January 6th? Probably not. But 2025 is going to be a really frightening year in this country. Buckle up, America.
Wow, that's really scary. Obviously we both don't want that to happen, but we're going to have to wait and see. Joe, before I let you go, and thank you so much for always doing this show. I really appreciate it.
I love your show, Brian. I love your show. I
love your podcast, White Flag with Joe Walsh, and you're one of my favorite people on television. So I guess it's a love fest all the way around. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing some election night coverage with Don Lemon, but I want to know where Joe Walsh is going to be. Are you going to be on CNN tomorrow? Where are you going to be tomorrow, Joe?
I'll be doing a lot of media. I might be doing a little bit of CNN. I'm actually going to be doing like a lot of BBC, a lot of European media. Bri, I do a lot of that because they are utterly fascinated with what's going on. So I will look. I'm back in DC. I'll be doing a lot of TV, radio, everything the next couple of days. But again, this is the really important point. I think she's going to win, but this next day or two or three or four is going to be really rocky because, again, think about it. One of these two candidates is going to purposely lie to the American people, all to incite violence. This is scary stuff. And I worry, Brian, that America is not ready for the day after the election. I really worry about that.
I do as well, Joe. I hope that doesn't happen, but I think, unfortunately, sadly, it will, especially if Donald Trump loses. I hope that this country is prepared for it. We'll have to wait and see. But Joe, I always love the fact that you're always, upfront, honest, and on the right side of history, my man. I look forward to listening to your commentary tomorrow, and we'll catch up later on in the week. But always appreciate the time, my friend. You're the best. Love you, pal. And let's hope we get the result we both want, because I know you've been working tirelessly, which I commend you for what you've been doing across the country. Keep it up, and love following you on Twitter. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Joe.
Vote Nevada. Thanks, Brian. Great being with you.
Thanks, Joe. Love you, man. Joe Walsh, buddy, former presidential candidate, former Chicago congressman, and obviously one of the faces of Republicans for Harris. And he has worked tirelessly. And Joe Walsh has done such a wonderful job. Boy, that was really scary, though, to hear what he just had to say. This is a former Chicago congressman. This is a guy who ran for president. And you can hear it in his voice, how worried he is about civil unrest in this country if things don't go MAGA's way. We have to be prepared for that. Make no mistake about it. We have to be prepared for that. So we have a couple guests coming up in hour number 2. I want to dedicate the next segment to talking to all of you. I'll give you a little bit more information on what we're going to be doing Election Day tomorrow. So I'm going to do my regular show, right? 12 to 2. It's going to be a very interactive show tomorrow. I'm going to want to hear from you. I'm going to want to hear from you. Maybe you just voted. Maybe you're on your way to vote in your car. I'm going to want you guys to call in tomorrow. So we're going to do our normal 12 to 2 show. And then I'm going to do 2 hours of bonus PTL radio show. We're going to take a 2-hour break. So we're going to go 12 to 2 Pacific Standard Time. We're going to take a 2-hour break. And then Pacific Standard Time, we are going to go live 4 to 6 p.m. An hour of that, 5 to 6 p.m., we are going to be going live with Don Lemon. We are going to be collaborating and doing an hour together where we're going to be taking calls. He's going to be live from Washington, D.C., from the Kamala Harris headquarters, and we're going to be going live for an hour with Don Lemon. So it'll be 4 hours of PTL tomorrow. The normal time, 12 to 2, will be on YouTube and the FMAM dial and all that good stuff. And then we're going to take a 2-hour break, a long lunch break, for lack of a better term. And then we're going to be back at it 4 to 6 p.m., so 4 hours tomorrow. And as I mentioned, an hour will be with Don Lemon. So it's going to be just as interactive, if not more than usual, if that's even possible for this show. So we're going to take a quick break. Before we do so, I want to remind all of you to please check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. If you can support what we do here, it's an independently owned radio show. You can buy merchandise on there, shirts, hats, beanies. It's getting cold outside, so the beanies might be a good idea. And if you don't want to buy merchandise, there's a donate button right on the front page there. $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can afford. Check it out, pushingthelimits.live. Your phone calls are next. How are you feeling, MAGA supporter or not? We are less than 24 hours away from Election Day, and we want to hear from you. 702-221-7283, the most interactive show in the country, as far as I'm concerned anyway. 702-221-7283. We'll take your calls next. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Thank you so much for joining us one day before Election Day. Man, did the last several months fly by. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe it. If you haven't voted already, please get out there and vote. I want to thank my official gaming bar sponsor of the Pushing the Limits radio show. Of course, I'm talking about Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. I got to get out there today, by the way. And their promotions are great, including the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games, a chance to win up to $500 in slot play. Earn enough points, you can earn a free bottle of wine. Yes, that's right. And on Sundays, if you earn 350 points, you get $50 in free slot play. See the promotions for more specific details. Check it out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. We're going to have some very special guests joining us tomorrow in studio on Election Day. And as I mentioned, we have bonus coverage. We're going to be doing 4 hours of the PTL radio show, noon to 2 Pacific time, and then we'll be coming back 4 to 6 p.m. An hour with Don Lemon. We are collaborating with his show and my show combined together, his audience and my audience, so I'm looking forward to that. He's going to be live from Washington, D.C. at the Kamala Harris headquarters, so that's kind of cool. Looking forward to that as well. I promised I would get to the calls. We have former Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley coming in studio, hour number 2, and other special guests. But let's get right to the calls because this is really important. I want to hear from you. How you guys feeling? We're less than 24 hours out from Election Day. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Alan. Alan is first up on PTL. Hey, Alan, where are you calling from?
Brian, let me talk to you. Calling from Philadelphia. All right, so you may not agree with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it. I look at MAGA and I see a modern-day Nazi organization. Now, that's horrible to say. Everything that Donald Trump promotes is exactly what Adolf Hitler has done, and if you know anything about history. Mm-hmm. I really feel that Kamala Harris, once she wins the election, which she will do, she should go after them. She should go after the Marjorie Taylors.
Well, what do you mean by go after? What do you mean by that specifically?
If you have to go after them, you need to put these people behind bars. They're a cancer to this country.
All right, so let me ask you a couple questions. Okay, so let me respond to what you just said. First of all, we're on the same side. We definitely want Kamala Harris to win. That's obvious, right? I think some of Donald Trump's verbiage, especially lately, is similar to the verbiage that Adolf Hitler used. The reason why I don't compare him and say he's Adolf Hitler is because Hitler killed 7 million Jews. And as much as we both hate Donald Trump, and trust me, I hate him immensely, I don't think he wants to murder millions of people. But his verbiage lately, and he wants to be an evil, murderous dictator. So from that aspect, I'm not going to disagree with you, okay? The problem I have with going after political opponents, see, that's something Donald Trump wants to do. Listen, if somebody breaks the law, Alan, I agree with you. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an idiot. She says stupid things. She shouldn't be in office. She's a noisemaker, and she's not a lawmaker. But go after her. I think we need to go after these people at the voter booth. Right now, listen, if they break the law, then I'm with you. Okay? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I still see these people are anti-democrat. They're
terrible. They're
anything
terrible.
against
There's some
They're modern day terrorists.
They're some of the worst people that America has to offer. I'm with you, Alan, 150%. But what we need to do, if you haven't already, Alan, and by the way, thank you for the call. I appreciate you. I think we're on the same page. What we need to do is vote. What we need to do is vote these people out. You know, you look at the Ted Cruz race in Texas. We're going to talk about a local race here in Las Vegas, which affects everybody. We'll get to that later. You need to vote these people out, right? These are noisemakers. These aren't lawmakers. Listen, I don't agree with everything Ocasio-Cortez says. I had the opportunity and the pleasure to meet with her last week. She has seen some of my videos on social media. I don't agree with her on a lot of different things. However, I think she's a very intelligent lady. I think she means well. And I think she cares about the American people, and she's willing to call out nonsense. Now, I wish she would be a little bit more vocal about some of the people at her own party, but I still admire her, and you could admire somebody and not always agree with them, and that's what I tell these MAGA Republicans, and that's what I tell the moderate Republicans, because these MAGA Republicans are lost, right? You're not going to get through to them. Moderate Republicans, boy, you know, I'm still on the fence. I don't want to vote for Trump for obvious reasons, but I don't like Harris's policies. Okay, you don't like her policies. This election is more than just about policy. It's about human decency. It's about having a moral compass. It's about our Constitution. It's about our democracy. So if you don't agree with all of her policies, that's not enough for me, as far as I'm concerned, to say I'm not voting for Kamala Harris. This is about decency, and it's about our democracy. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is next up on PTL. Hey, Jeff, what's going on, man?
Whew, let's go. So, Brian, I guess I would sum it up, my feelings as I just finished warming up in the bullpen, and I've gotten called into the game, and I've got some butterflies, but it's time to extinguish this MAGA nonsense. Yeah. So let's get that done. I did want to, though, say a few things. The Jeffrey Epstein, that he's the wingman to facilitate pervert Trump's unwanted groping and sexual assaults and his thirst for underage girls.
Yeah.
That is who you support, MAGA. That's a fact. That's not an opinion.
Right.
Your guy is a pedophile. So Max Crosby, Nick Bosa, nice going.
It's funny that you say Max. It's funny that you say Max Crosby, because I put up Minshew in a Crosby picture when they met Donald Trump a few months ago, and I said they're both getting embarrassed this season. The Raiders are 2-7, and I said the other guy who's a liable rapist felon is going to be embarrassed tomorrow, Jeff. So let's hope that happens, my friend.
I like it.
Let's hope that happens, and I hope we can call with some joy later this week, and hopefully we get the same result that we want. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next up on PTL. What's going on, Joseph?
Yeah, hey, Brian. Okay, here's my piece. Hearing Trump saying about shooting at Liz Cheney and the fake news, as he called them, that's what Liz Cheney's saying, that Trump is trying to be a dictator like Hitler, despite the fact that he's saying that he's not Hitler, but despite the fact he is. And that's what he's trying to do. All these MAGA Republicans are doing are trying to create more political violence. And what's to stop him from trying to commit another January 6th act?
Well, I think that might happen regardless, Joseph. I think you're right. And Joseph, nothing is stopping him, right? He doesn't respect the law. He thinks he can get away with anything. He's been a snake his entire life. And I'm with you, Joseph. I'm with you 150%. And let's hope we get the result we want tomorrow, my friend. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. Hey, Ray, where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, I am in eastern Iowa. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Ray. You know, I've seen some of those polls in Iowa. One poll that came out that just said that Harris has a slight lead. Are you buying into that?
I am, and I'd like to share why, and I'd like to also discuss one or a few things
Sure.
what your
Yep.
Walsh had talked about earlier. So
Sure.
I am, and here's why. Women are motivated. Number one issue is abortion, by far, not the economy. And men are, look out for our women. We're pretty progressive. We have gone Trump the last 2 times, but remember, we voted for Obama 2 times in a row as well. So
Yep.
kind of a little bit of a bellwether there. And Seltzer's reputation is on the line with this poll. Like, she has been dead on since 2012. So
Right.
take those numbers for what you may, but there's still a 9% gap in there. So it means people need to get to the polls. So
No question.
number one. Another big issue is January 6th. People really didn't care for that here. So, and we're put off by it. Another issue, Ukraine. Iowans have a relationship with Ukrainians through agriculture. So being pro-Russian, stuff like that, turns people off.
Well,
so.
2 things there. Number one, January 6th doesn't happen if not for Donald Trump lying about the 2020 election, which he still does. And number 2, Donald Trump on a presidential debate stage was not willing to answer the question, do you want Ukraine to win? Because he wants Russia to win. He wasn't willing to say it, but he's a coward. He roots for Vladimir Putin and Russia. I truly believe he roots for murderous, evil dictators because he wants to be one himself. That's what I believe.
Yep. And then I'd like to also discuss what you and Congressman Walsh are talking about. The other night I went out and the rhetoric is getting there. Heard you guys talking about killing immigrants the other night at a Eagles club, if you know what Eagles clubs are.
Just awful.
And
awful.
It is. And I asked them to step outside and fight me or leave the bar, and they choose the latter, which was probably a good idea on their part.
Did you hear the story,
And this
by the
morning
way?
I heard
sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to ask you, did you hear the story about this 70-year-old Kamala Harris supporter, this female supporter, and this 17-year-old kid wearing a MAGA outfit punches her in the stomach and got arrested? Did you hear about-
I did, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Terrible.
Horrible. Then I heard a man openly using the N-word today at a coffee shop. And this is
But that's
all
who these
because of-
people are. Let me be very clear.
It's horrible.
Let me be very clear. And by the way, thank you for the call. Let me be clear on this. Never have I ever said on the air that all Trump supporters are racist. I've never said all Trump supporters are anything, by the way. But I always talk about Donald Trump's base of supporters, the diehards. Many of the diehards, or the base of his supporters, are extremely ignorant and uneducated middle-aged white people, some of them who use the N-word, some of them who punch 70-year-old women, very uneducated people, very stupid people who enjoy their Confederate flags, and when they hear the word the phrase "Make America Great Again," it means "Make America White Again." This is Donald Trump's base. They are not the silent majority. They are the ignorant and uneducated loud minority. And we are going to prove that, I believe, tomorrow on Election Day. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Kava's next. Hey, Kava, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling in.
Hi, Brian. How are you doing today?
Good.
So I just want to say something about this election. I'm nervous. I'm worried, but I'm confident at the same time. This isn't, to me, this is no longer just about myself. This is about women's rights. This is about the fact that if the orange orangutan wins, Latin America will be gone. He's
no
going to
question.
do exactly what he told Vladimir Putin to do. He told him to invade Ukraine. He said he could do whatever he wanted to our allies, and that terrifies me.
Well, it
because
terrifies
I
me
came from
too.
Ecuador, as you know.
It terrifies me too, Kava, but I'm going to say this. What you're experiencing is very normal. I'm worried too. I'm nervous as well. What you're experiencing is normal. If you weren't worried, if you weren't nervous, then in my opinion, you wouldn't be a true patriot and you wouldn't be a true American, and we know you are, Kava, so thank you for the call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hey, Mark, what's going on, man?
Hey, thank you, Brian. I've been following politics and whatnot for over 50 years. And I can tell you that I feel nervous, apprehensive, but I feel very, very confident. Now, I don't think this election is as close as what people are saying for a number of reasons. And also, that fella from Iowa, I agree on one point that he stated, and I disagree on another. I disagree that MAGA is communist. They're not communist. They're full-blown fascist. And there's a big difference between the two. Do you agree, Brian?
Yes, I do agree. I do believe Donald Trump
more
is a
thing,
fascist. I don't know about all of his supporters. I wouldn't put them all in there. But I do think some of his supporters are absolutely.
Well, I truly believe that the Democrats and the president is going to be ready on January 6th. I don't, a lot of people are building this up, but you got to understand that the National Guard has already been deployed
Correct.
in certain states.
You bring up a good point. So, Mark, I tend to agree with you. I think we are certainly more prepared now as a country than we would have been 4 years ago or 8 years ago. So, Mark, I agree with you. Let's hope that we're both right on this. I don't think we're going to see another insurrection. I think we could see an attempt on a coup, but I don't think it's going to be successful. I agree with you, Mark. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Millie. Millie is next up on PTL. Hi, Millie.
Hi, Brian. This is my first time calling into the show.
Oh, well, thank you. Where are you calling from?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Iowa. Well, thank you for calling in. What's on your mind today, Millie?
So I've been pondering the idea of, I heard on a newscast one day, I believe it was MSNBC, where they were talking about when Trump was in office and SCOTUS was, when he put the 3 Supreme Court judges on the Supreme Court, and how he killed the investigations into their background.
Yeah.
So people need to know that 4 out of the 6, I don't know too much about the other 2 Republicans on there, are sex offenders.
Yeah.
So my point being was that if he killed those investigations, what do you think he did to Jeffrey Epstein, who has all the information about all these powerful men in the world?
Well, it's a good question. You have Jeffrey Epstein on an audio recording by author Michael Wolff saying a number of things about Donald Trump, including that it was his, quote, closest friend. They want to call Democrats and liberals pedophiles, and they throw that word around left and right. Here you have arguably the biggest pedophile, perhaps in our generation, saying that Donald Trump is his closest friend. But you won't hear Sean Hannity or Fox News talking about that. You won't hear Mark Levin talking about that. No, they'll talk about the comment, the incendiary comment that Joe Biden made about Trump supporters being garbage. They'll be focused on that, but they won't be focused on the fact that Jeffrey Epstein said that Donald Trump was his closest friend. And we're supposed to be led to believe that Donald Trump wasn't having relations with underage girls. Give me a break. They'll talk about Hunter Biden. Look at all that stuff in his laptop. And when I have conversations with these idiots, because that's what they are, they're idiots. They think they know what's in Hunter Biden's laptop, and it's why Tina Peters is in jail right now. She claims she knew everything in Hunter Biden's laptop. I say to people, oh, well, that was people say that was election interference. I say, really? What was in the laptop? What was in the laptop that Hunter Biden was charged with? What crimes are in that laptop? They think they know what's in the laptop. He wasn't charged with anything that was in that laptop. It's mesmerizing to me. They're such hypocrites. These idiots, they're hypocrites.
And Hunter Biden is not running for president.
Thank you. Yes, yeah.
It's irrelevant information.
You are.
Also,
yeah,
I mean, he's going to be elected to the most powerful position in the land. I do not support him. I did not vote for him. I voted for Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was in the most powerful position, and he's just projecting all of his mental illnesses.
Oh, no question. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I think we all could say that Donald Trump has always been a scumbag, but he has just lost it. Did you see what he was doing with that microphone over the weekend? I think he mistaken the as my producer is trying to, he looks like he's got experience with that. But our producer is making the same motions that Donald Trump did. Did you see what he did with that microphone? I think he mistook the microphone for Vladimir Putin's genitalia. That's what I think. This is a mentally ill man. What was that all about? Could somebody please explain to me what that was all about? Bizarre. Thank you for the call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Christopher. Christopher's next up on PTL. What's up, Christopher?
Well, hello. You actually came up on my YouTube back a few months ago. I've been listening to you off and on, and I have to back you 110%.
Well, I appreciate that, my friend. The check is in the mail. Are you feeling good about this election tomorrow, or what are your thoughts?
I'm feeling very good about this election. Me and my girl are first-time voters, and we're voting blue completely up and down the ballot.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 40. She's 32.
Wow.
We were never really much political. I mean, we did follow some politics. I mean, we loved Obama. We loved Clinton.
Right.
And I did like, out of Hillary and John McCain, I did like John McCain.
Okay, but hold on. Let me
He
backtrack, Christopher. You're in your 40s. Your girlfriend is in her early 30s. And I'm glad you're voting, but I want to ask you what changed this election cycle that made you vote here, because you've never voted in your life. What was the difference for you that said, geez, we better go to the ballot box, we better vote?
Donald Trump.
Wow. But interesting, though, because you didn't vote in 2020 or 2016. What changed?
Because I like to have everybody to be treated equal and the rights and our freedoms. And the fact that he was already horrible coming in 2016.
Right.
He was even more horrible 2020. And he just got all this worse right now. And it doesn't help. All of our family and friends are all voting Republican. They're all fully red. And it's like me and her is just so scary that we're just blue right now.
Well, you know what? Don't think of it like that. Don't think of it as you guys voting blue. Think of it as you guys voting for democracy. Think about it as you guys voting on the right side of history. Thinking about it as you guys voting for women and women's reproductive rights. Think of it as you guys voting for equality, as you said. Think about it as you guys voting on the right side of history. Forget about red and blue, because I don't care about that. You guys are voting for equality, and you're voting for the American people, and you're voting for our democracy, my friend. Thank you, Christopher, for the phone call. I appreciate it. And thank your girlfriend for me as well. Because if Kamala Harris does win, it's going to be because of people like you. So thank you for the call. 702-221-7283. Marion is next. Hi, Marion. What's going on?
Hey, Brian. I just want to let you know I've called a couple times and I listen to you every day. I gave up my other shows that I used to watch for you.
Thank you.
Anyway, you're talking about Trump, whether he would really want to hurt Liz Cheney or not. I believe in my heart, because I am a clinician, that he would. He does not have empathy. He may do it in a way like Putin does, where he imprisons people and stuff like that. But I honestly believe he would hurt people or kill them if he could.
Well, I hope
if
not.
He can get away with it.
Okay, I hope not. Here's
well,
what
so do I.
Here's what we know for sure.
Think so.
Whether I'm right or wrong, whether you're right or wrong, here's what we both will agree on. That type of language and that rhetoric can incite violence. It is inexcusable. Whether he's serious about it or not, to me, is irrelevant. What's more important is he's saying it publicly. Crazy people can hear what he says. Like when he called CNN fake news and then somebody sent pipe bombs to CNN. When he tells all of his stupid supporters that he won the 2020 election and the Democrats cheated, we have something called January 6th. So whether he's serious about it or not, we know that he's inciting violence. We know that he will continue to lie whether he wins or loses the election tomorrow. And that's what we need to be focused on, right? And you might be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying your opinion's not valid. All I'm saying is we got to get this guy to office and he's got to go away. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jack. Jack is next on PTL. Hi, Jack.
Yo, Brian, what's going on?
Not much. What's on your mind?
Not much. He's going to win Pennsylvania. She's going to win Pennsylvania. That's off the bat. And I want to throw a scenario by and just want to hear how you would think about it. In 16, he ran, and the people that wanted him to win, they came out and ran. They came out and voted. And like me, like some Democrats, I wasn't all that enthused about Hillary, and I feel bad because I didn't vote that year. It was the only year I didn't vote. So at the end of 16, she beats him by 3 million votes. They get in office, and it's MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. Now, the next election that was coming up is 2020. Every MAGA was coming out to vote for him. So they rallied their troops, and Joe Biden still wins because of the things that Trump did in office that pissed off everybody else off. He wins by 7 million votes. So in this election, I'm asking you, do you think he's gained support from 2020?
Yeah. Good
or
question.
Do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll give you the best answer I can. And I've actually talked about this before, my friend. I believe Donald Trump has lost supporters. And here's why. I don't think you can find many Joe Biden supporters back in 2020 or even anti-Trump voters that voted for Joe Biden that are going to be voting for Donald Trump this time around. However, there are a lot of moderate Republicans that I speak to all the time. They might not be saying it and shouting it out loud publicly like a Joe Walsh or an Anthony Scaramucci, but privately, they will not be voting for Donald Trump. Now, listen, some of these people might not be voting at all. Amy Tarkanian is a personal friend of mine. She's the former Nevada Republican chairwoman. Used to be very pro-Trump. She's not voting for Trump. She's not ready to say she's voting for Harris either. But he's losing support. Doesn't mean that all the people that are not going to be voting for him are going to be voting for Harris. But that's still losing support. When they say, I'm not going to vote for a Democrat, but I'm also not supporting Trump, that's Donald Trump losing support, my friend. I hope I answered your question. Thank you for the call, Jack. Let's go to Laura. Laura's next. Hey, Laura, what's going on?
Oh, yeah, I thought I'd introduce to you guys that last week at one of Trump's rallies, Elon Musk came and bent over him and told the audience, in order to cut the $2 trillion in spending, you're going to have to go through hardship for a couple of years. Nobody's covering that. I don't understand.
Yeah,
why.
I mentioned that last week, and you're referring to Elon Musk before Donald Trump made his speech. And Elon Musk basically admitting that middle-class Americans and those that live paycheck to paycheck are going to struggle under Donald Trump. And Elon Musk basically said, well, just live with it. Listen, many of the billionaires out there in the top 1% that are going to be voting for Donald Trump don't care about middle-class Americans. They don't care about people living paycheck to paycheck because they're a bunch of selfish bastards like Elon Musk. They only care about their own bottom line, and they only care about themselves. Yeah, there's no question the top 1% are going to save more money if Donald Trump wins this election. These are some of the same people that don't care about others. Now, then you have billionaires that do. It could be a Bill Gates. It could be, Mark Cuban. They understand that they're going to have to pay more in taxes, but they understand that it's also better for the economy. It's better for the American people. So you have a certain group of people that are selfish a-holes that don't care about our democracy. They just care about their bottom line and their bank account. And then you have people like Mark Cuban who actually care about middle-class Americans and care about those living paycheck to paycheck. And I commend all of the wealthy individuals in this country that are voting for democracy, not their own bank account. Let's go to Zach. Zach is next on PTL. What's going on, Zach?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good.
Hey, I'm from Illinois, near the Wisconsin border. I've already voted for Harris, and I voted blue down the ticket. I just have a few things out there for those undecided voters who kind of bring up the same issues over and over again. So immigration, I'm going to be quick. I got a couple issues here.
Sure.
But immigration. Trump's last official duty in office, if
Did we lose him? Buddy, I am so sorry to do this to you, but it sounds like we lost a connection with you. You feel free to call back, but it sounded like, I don't know, maybe it was the deep state. I don't know. Try calling back. Let's go to Al. Al is next. What's going on, Al?
Hey, how you doing, Brian? Thank you for my call. You guys, I'm a Republican. I'm not a MAGA. Mom's an apple pie. If you don't know what that means, forget it. But anyhow, I read Ralston's article. I think he's just trying to motivate the Democrats. The big issue here in Nevada.
Well, hold on a second. John Ralston.
$1,195
John,
per month.
hold on a second.
Food.
You think
we
John?
went down
Hold
to
on.
The,
Al.
Taco Fest, talking
Al.
to the Hispanic community.
Al.
Many of them are voting for
Al,
Trump.
can you stop
Many
talking
of
for
them
a moment?
Are aware that
Al,
food is
pot
just
him down.
ridiculous.
Okay. Al, the idea that John Ralston gives an opinion and you don't like it or agree with it is one thing. But to say that John Ralston is saying that Kamala Harris is going to win because he's trying to motivate Democrats is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It'd be the contrary to that. If he said that she was trailing, that would motivate the Democrats. What are you talking about? Just because you don't agree with an opinion, you think John Ralston is biased? Is that what you're saying, Al?
Of course. Of course. A lot of people are saying that he's just saying that to motivate the Democrats to go vote. Okay,
let's go with that. So you think it motivates Democrats to vote to say that the person they want to win is leading in the polls? That's the opposite. That's why Hillary Clinton lost. What are you talking about? If you want to motivate the Democrats, you'd say, this is a really close election. I don't know who's going to win. Wouldn't that make more sense to you? In my opinion, you're not making any sense. Why would somebody say, a Democrat's going to win, and why would that motivate people? It's the opposite.
Because they want to get a bigger win. They want to be on the winning team.
Al, I disagree with you, but go ahead. I
That's
disagree.
fine. Not a problem. That's fine.
I disagree with you. Did he hang up the phone? Okay, yeah. All right. Thanks, Al. Al, hopefully I motivated you to vote for Kamala Harris. Boy, that's the first time I ever heard that before. Let's take one more call, then we got to go to break. Let's go to Matt. Matt is next up on PTL. Hey, Matt, what's going on, man?
Hi, Brian. First-time caller. Calling from Santa Rosa, California, Sonoma County.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm 41 years old. I'm Jewish. Liberal, Democrat, proud Kamala supporter. I wanted to ask your opinion. I don't think this gets talked about enough. Every time I hear ads on TV from the MAGA idiots and all this nonsense, they keep calling him President Trump, which really bothers me. Last time I checked, he's not the president. I mean, why do they do this? What is your opinion on that?
Well, I think that, first of all, I would call him President Adjudicated Rapist. That's what President Cheeto Jesus, President Orange Turd, number one. He's the former president of the United States. Sadly, we can't take that away from him, but he's also been impeached twice. The people that call him Mr. President are the same people that call him Superman, the same people that buy his Bibles, the same people that spend $600 to buy his gold sneakers. I'm not surprised. These are people that make him out to be some sort of superhero, because when he walks, tries to get into a garbage truck, the guy almost falls on his ass. The man walks around with his girdle and his 4 hair transplants and his fake teeth and his fake tan, and he wakes up and puts on 8 layers of his orange makeup. He looks like a clown. How anybody could look at this guy as anything other than a very weak, obese imbecile and a liable rapist is beyond me. I don't like using the word president in his name in anything, but if you want to throw in the same sentence sexual abuser and felon, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And also, I'm a paratransit driver for developmentally disabled adults and elderly adults. And on my route, I see signs overwhelmingly for Kamala, which I love seeing.
Good.
But I also see signs for Trump. I see houses with Trump flags and all that nonsense. And I keep saying, take America back, make America great again. Take America back from what?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a really good question. I talk about this all, and thank you, by the way, for the call, sir, and thank you for what you do for your work. Sounds like you're a really good man, and I appreciate you. Make America great again means make America white again. Take America back. I think a lot of these people want to go back to slavery days. They want to go back. They want to make sure that the white people in this country are the dominant people. These are mainly white supremacists and alt-right fringe groups and alt-right racist bigots out there when they use that term, make America great again. There are Republicans in this country that don't think women should vote. Charlie Kirk basically said it. They don't think that women should have a voice, that you have to vote the same way your husband votes. That's what make America great again means to these bigoted, racist imbeciles. Thank you so much for the call, and thank you for the work that you do, my friend. I appreciate you. All right, here's what we're going to do. We'll take more phone calls in hour number 2. But we have a couple special guests, including former Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley, who's going to be joining us next. She's trying to be the mayor of Las Vegas. Boy, I got to get her thoughts on these elections and much more. Take a quick break. Shelley Berkeley joining us next. It's Pushing Limits right here on KSHP.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercials, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Coming. Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a very busy news day, one day before Election Day. And as I mentioned, of course, we have the presidential election, but we have so many other important races, including right here in Las Vegas for mayor. And listen, I've had Carolyn Goodman on this show before. I have Oscar Goodman on this show all the time. Very important to note that there are people running races across the country that are very important for the future, not just of Las Vegas, of the state of Nevada, but for the country. And the lady we have with us in studio, certainly no exception to that. She's running for mayor. I'll be the first one to admit, because I do a talk show and I'm not a journalist, I'm an opinionated talk show host. I absolutely voted for Shelley Berkeley for mayor. She's running against Victoria Seaman. Former Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley joining us in studio right now. Shelley, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm very well, and thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're helping to fill up my day, because the day before an election, you kind of have been running like a crazy person for almost 2 years.
How tired are you? I mean, like, how do you have the you're in your 70s, right?
I am in my 70s.
And like I'm in my 40s, and I do a 2-hour radio show, and I'm tired after that. So, like, how are you? You're all over the place.
Yeah, I've just been blessed with good health and a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And that's what made me decide to do this. I was at Toro University. I was the CEO. They wanted me to sign another 3-year contract, and I said, you know what? Why don't I leave on top when everybody loves me? So I said, I'll give you a 1-year contract for a smooth transition. Then I started thinking, well, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And what do you love? I love public service. I don't want to go to D.C. again. I'm not interested in going to Carson City. I said, oh, my goodness, Mayor Goodman is term limited. So there's going to be a vacancy in the mayor's office. I said, how could I get that lucky to be the mayor of my hometown?
Well, I think you will. I think I'll be calling you mayor very soon.
I'm very excited. Things look very good. But as you could see from this, we're campaigning until the very end. My whole family is here. My sister's in studio with us. She flew in yesterday. I've got cousins from Chicago. They're walking precincts right now. And I've got two nieces from LA that were bussed in over the weekend, and they're out canvassing. So it's really is a family activity.
That's so cool. So, I feel like a lot of the issues that people in Las Vegas are facing, that you want to help the people here in Las Vegas, are very similar to the issues that people throughout the country are facing.
Sure.
It could be the economy, jobs. Although I will say, and I think you'll agree with me, that the economy under Joe Biden has been doing pretty well.
Flourishing.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why the naysayers don't fully appreciate that. Every economist in the United States and the economists from London saying that we have the strongest and hottest economy on the planet.
Manufacturing jobs, unemployment rate is low. I think black unemployment is 5.6%. We're 4% unemployment rate throughout the country. When you look at the NASDAQ, when you look at inflation, right, Shelley, it's under 3%.
Inflation's down, gas prices down, employment up. I mean, this is a good, strong economy, and especially so since we came from, we got out of the pandemic, and, it really did do some damage to the economy.
Sure.
And no doubt people suffered, not only the people that got COVID, but people that relied on jobs with businesses shut down. But frankly, we're going gangbusters, and rather than appreciating it, people are bad-mouthing the economy. I don't understand
When you say people, it's usually MAGA Republicans that are doing that.
But, because they have such a big megaphone, and of course, because Donald Trump is, talks about how awful the economy is, people believe it.
Do you agree with me, Shelley, that if Donald Trump was president right now, he'd be bragging about this is the best economy that the country has ever seen? This is the best. It's the best. Sorry, that's my horrible Donald Trump impersonation.
That is pretty horrible, actually.
Pretty bad. John DiDomenico comes on all the time. I don't know if you know John. He's great. He's a pretty good Trump impersonator. But, it's interesting because, John Ralston, John pretty well. Great guy, the Nevada Independent. And he just put out his predictions today.
Yes.
And this affects you too. But he said that, even though a lot of Republicans, not just here in Las Vegas, but in the state, have voted early, he still predicts that Harris is going to win. He's predicted some of the local races. He predicted you're going to win the mayor, as I am as well. But does that concern you at all? I guess that's my question, because not just throughout the country, but particularly here in the state of Nevada, that so many Republicans have voted early. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think that Donald Trump gave them permission to vote early. Remember, in the last two presidential elections, he was bad-mouthing vote by mail. Don't vote by mail. It's fraudulent. It's, you can't trust it. And don't vote early. And so I think Republicans waited and voted on Election Day just to be sure their vote counted. Now he gave permission because he's still not keen on the mail-in ballots, but he decided that early voting would be good. So maybe it's not more Republicans, but they've just shifted their voting pattern. So instead of voting on Election Day, they decided to vote early. I was a traditionalist when we started doing early voting in Nevada. I voted on Election Day, and then a few elections ago, my husband and I are in Albertsons in our neighborhood. We do shopping, and there are voting booths.
Yeah.
And I looked at my husband. I said, we're here. Why don't we just vote? And it took like 2.5 seconds. There was no line. And after we finished voting, we looked at each other. I said, what have I been thinking?
Yeah.
This is great. So we always vote now on the first day of early voting and getting it out of the way.
It's important. I look at your opponent, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences here, but I believe your positions compared to where your opponent, Seaman, stands are very similar to a lot of the positions of Democrats versus MAGA Republicans today. I don't know if you define your opponent as a MAGA Republican, but would you? I don't even know if that's a fair characterization.
I try not to focus on my opponent when I'm running.
Right.
I'm focused on me.
But it seems to me that you are more for middle class, those that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. You're not for elitists. You're not for the top 1%. It seems like, and I'll just generalize, a lot of Republicans today, not all of them, but MAGA Republicans are for giving tax breaks to the rich. There's a lot of people, not just in Las Vegas, but across the country that are still struggling, right?
Yes.
Taking away a woman's reproductive rights is a big issue. And
that may be the deciding issue of this election.
Right, and I know you're running for mayor, but I can only speak for myself the way I vote. I want to know how people feel about these issues, even if they're not lawmakers, even if they're not going to change a law per se, whether it be abortion. I want to know where my candidates stand on issues, whether it's for an assemblywoman or mayor. But you're on the right side, in my opinion, of history of not telling women what to do with their own bodies.
Well, having been a woman all my life, it's pretty important to me. And I think what it did, if nothing else, and obviously I'm for a woman's right to choose. This is a bunch of mostly guys in Congress have no right to tell me what to do with my body. And I never realized that it was as strong a sentiment among women in this country, but I think we're seeing time and again and state after state that women care about having this right taken away from them. But I think it signals more than that. If you can, interfere with a woman's right to choose, then you interfere with who somebody can love and marry. And before you know it, all of these fundamental rights that we as Americans have come to not only expect, but to treasure, may be elusive and may be in danger of being taken away. And I think so. It's more than a woman's reproductive rights that's at stake. I think people are projecting into the future and thinking, well, if they can take this right away from me, they can take that right away from you. And I think, but one of the things that I love about mayor, and look, I was in the assembly, I was on the Board of Regents, I was a 7-term congresswoman, but what I love about mayor is the nonpartisan nature. And even in one of my commercials, because I said it so often, we decided to make a commercial out of it. If you have a pothole in front of your driveway that needs to be fixed, you don't care if the mayor is a Republican or a Democrat. You want your darn pothole fixed, and that's what I do really well.
I feel like since Trumpism, for lack of a better term, we've kind of lost that as a country a little bit. And there are still people out there like yourself, and we do hear Kamala Harris talk about this too. Listen, you're going to have a seat at the table whether you're a MAGA Republican, and I think that's important. And I want a mayor like that who's willing to work with both sides. I think that's a really important part of the job, which I believe you will have. What do you make of that, though, how divided we are? Not just in Las Vegas, but I just feel like as a country, politically speaking, at least in my lifetime.
Well, it breaks my heart. Yeah. I mean, it really does. I'm going to years ago, when I was in Congress, I got the funding for the VA hospital in North Las Vegas. That was part of my congressional district. It's the thing I'm most proud of. Served 14 years. The VA hospital in North Las Vegas was my proudest accomplishment, as far as I'm concerned. Now, when we got the funding for that and approval to build it, it was Republican president, Republican VA secretary, Republican House, Republican Senate, and we were able to work with our colleagues across the aisle, show them the need in Congressional District 1 in Nevada for a full-service VA hospital, and we got the funding. I don't think that could happen today. And how unfortunate is that? I mean, we were able. I became very, very good friends with the VA secretary. He was, an accolade of George Bush II. They were close friends. He got the appointment from a Republican president, but I was able to bring him to Las Vegas. We explained had close to 300,000 veterans with no hospital here. And they had to go to Long Beach in order to get served. This is an old Navy guy, and he understood what the need was.
But that's a testament to you, though, too, because you're willing to work with others that you might not agree with on
definitely.
a number of different issues. And when I hear Kamala Harris talk about that, too, I think you and her have that in common.
Look, when I married my husband, he was a Heritage Foundation Republican, but he was also a Jewish doctor with money.
I hope he didn't vote for Trump, though. I know he didn't.
No. But I mean, it didn't matter to me. I mean, what his politics was. It mattered that he was a good person.
Right. No, I agree.
And we ultimately married. But at the time it was because I was running for Congress when we started dating, running for the first time, and so here I am, a Democrat, and he's a Heritage Foundation Republican. You know what? It was good for both of us. We both moderated our position somewhat, listening to somebody that was thoughtful and intelligent, explaining their side.
Sure.
And I think it served both of us very, very well.
And I think we get Harris in office, we get you as our mayor. I think we'll be in good shape, but more people like you that are willing to work with the other side and work together. I think that's so important. If you're just joining us, she is former Congresswoman Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley. She's running for mayor of the great city here of Las Vegas, and I believe she is going to be our next mayor. And next time I think I see her, I will say, Mayor, it's good to see you. So, yes. You know, you've been through plenty of elections in your lifetime, right? You've been in politics a long time. So I had Steve Sisolak on the show last week, and I said, do you get an inkling or a feeling the day before that's usually right about whether you're going to win or not?
Even
And
sooner than that.
Right, and Sisolak gave me a very honest answer, which I'm sure you will. He said, you know, I thought that first time around I was going to win, and I'll be honest with you, I thought Lombardo was going to get me. So with that, I'll ask you, are you usually right with your feelings on whether you're going to win? Because you've been through this before.
You could tell, especially when I was running for lower races, not Congress, but the lower races, when you're not, because then you're doing a lot of door knocking.
Right.
And so I was walking precincts. I could tell early on, because I ran for the state senate, like in the 80s, and I lost. But I knew it before the results started coming in. I could tell the reaction and the door. And you see, and I laugh about this, but if somebody walks across the street when they see you, chances are they're not voting for you.
Right.
But now people are lining up. They want to have a picture with me. They want to talk to me. And that's when you know there's a good feeling in the community. And that's why I have a very good feeling about this race. So you can tell. I mean, people are not very. I mean, we just came back from Bagel Cafe.
Oh, I love that place.
I know. I have
Food
the
is so
whole
good.
family. So I said, let's go to Bagel Cafe.
Yeah.
It's first of all, it's that's where people from Sun City
Right.
and everybody else congregate. Place is packed.
I was just there with our mutual friend Jay Bloom last
Oh,
week.
I know. Jay loves that
We
place.
missed a good Beetlejuice party.
Oh,
Halloween.
I had planned to. I had my costume all ready. By the time people stopped knocking at my door, it was late, and
You've got a very important election coming up, so I think that's
and
understandable.
by then, I was so exhausted around
Yep.
9 o'clock, and I looked at my
Yep.
husband because we had king and queen matching outfits, and so I looked at him, and the idea of getting off the couch
Yeah.
and getting dressed in a costume and driving over to the party.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, as a woman, what will it mean to you in the next couple days? Because I think we'll find out in the next several days whether you win, whether Harris wins. What will it mean to you as a woman if not only you become the next mayor of the great city of Las Vegas, but Kamala Harris becomes the first female president? Will that be emotional? What will be going through your mind as the mayor, and then you have a president who's a female?
I would be very pleased to see that. As you could imagine, I was a big Hillary supporter. I liked her as a person. I
Right.
served with her in
Yep.
Congress when she was in the Senate, and then of course Secretary of State. And I always admired her. Thought for sure she was going to be president. I do not know Mrs. Harris. I've never met her. We didn't serve together. We
Really?
learned.
I'm surprised you guys have never met before.
I'd never met before.
You've been Joe Biden plenty of times, right?
Many
As a
many
congresswoman,
times.
you know Joe very
Oh
well.
yeah, and even earlier
Yeah,
than that.
yeah.
But so I don't know her personally, but I think I'd be very proud of this country if they voted for a woman who I believe is the most qualified candidate in that race. But what?
That's an understatement.
What a tribute to the American people that maybe this is breaking the fever of what we've experienced
Let's
over
hope
the
so,
last
Shelley.
several years.
So there are a lot of people that haven't voted yet in your race, particularly. Let's start there. For people that are listening to this show right now, that they're on the fence. They don't know whether to vote for you or not. They don't know whether to vote for your opponent or not. What would you say to them that are listening right now? Why should Shelley Berkeley be the next mayor of the great city of Las Vegas?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. Look, there are 4 generations of my family have called Las Vegas home. For a young town like Las Vegas, that's saying quite a lot. I didn't grow up in Las Vegas. I grew up with Las Vegas. When my family first got here, there were 80,000 people in the entire Las Vegas Valley. There's now over 2.5 million in the same geographic area. I have a wealth of experience, not only in the public offices that I've held. I have state experience because of the assembly. I've obviously no education very well, served on the Board of Regents for 8 years. There is no issue confronting the city that I didn't deal with in Congress when Oscar Goodman was mayor, because the city overlapped my congressional district. I'm fully prepared on day one to take the reins, but I know that a lot of people don't realize that I'm a working woman. When I got out of law school, I'm an attorney by profession, I was the deputy director of the state commerce department. I was the administrator for banking, savings and loans, mortgage companies, and credit unions. I know finance. Then I was in-house counsel for Southwest Gas Corporation. I know energy.
Right.
I was a gaming attorney, vice president of government and legal affairs at the Old Sands Hotel. If you're going to represent, you're going to be the mayor of Las Vegas, maybe you ought to know something about our major industry, and I do.
Sure.
And then finally, I was CEO of Touro University Medical School. I know healthcare. And that's one of the most important issues confronting Nevada, particularly Southern Nevada, is how access to affordable health care.
And you don't just have concepts of a plan. You actually
No, I actually know what I'm talking about.
That's a good thing.
Yes,
That's
yes,
that's a lot of experience.
I'm ready
You
on day
understand
one.
the city inside and out.
And I love it.
Yeah.
And I love it. Look, I used to talk a lot about my grandparents coming to America and being
Right.
immigrants that couldn't speak English, and all of that is true. But now I'm focused on my grandchildren. And, my kids never left. If you were my kid, you wouldn't leave Las Vegas either. So we're watching our grandchildren grow up. And I have another one on the way. They just announced that Vile is pregnant now. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So I'm focused now on what Las Vegas should be like
Right.
a decade from now, 20 years from now, when my grandchildren are here and being adults in this community. That's what I care about now.
You're mayor on day one. What's the first priority for you?
Well, it depends. If Badlands hasn't been settled, and I understand they are working very hard to come up with a solution now. If not, that will be my number one priority. We cannot continue. Every day the city spends $20,000 a day in interest payments on what we owe the developer. Let us come to a decision. You can't plan your budget for 2025 unless you know what you have to spend. So that's very impactful and very important. Get that off the table.
Sure.
Then you deal with homelessness, affordable housing, economic growth and development, which I think in the next decade, this town is going to explode in a very positive way. I know all the young developers downtown that are reimagining downtown Las Vegas. I went to most of their bar mitzvahs, so I know these people very, very well.
And you know Joe Lombardo pretty well.
I do, and I have a
also.
wonderful relationship with
And
him.
I bring that up because that's what we were talking about earlier. Yes, he's a Republican. Yes, I would imagine you don't agree with him on every policy decision, neither do I. But it's important to have a mayor that can work with the governor.
Absolutely.
And your relationship with him is a pretty good one. Right?
I have a good the congressional delegation. Two of the women in our congressional delegations were bridesmaids at my wedding. I mean, it's we are the two United States senators are very close personal friends as well as professional friends of mine. And so there isn't anybody in the city that I can't call that won't return my call and that I can do business with. And one of the things, and I know that you know this, all of the city council members have endorsed me over their colleague, my opponent. And so all the county commissioners, all the city council people, they want to work with me. And I think I could bring everybody together because so many of the issues that are confronting us are not unique to Las Vegas. They're throughout Southern Nevada. Let's work together on behalf of all of our constituents. I'm very, very engaged in that sort of activity, that behavior. It doesn't do any of us any good to have petty differences and petty rivalries. I'm not about that. And I've reached a stage in my life. I mean, maybe 40 years ago when I was running for office, it mattered to me if my name was called first or I was introduced.
Now you just don't
Those days are so far behind me. And just keep your eye on the ball, do the job that the people of Las Vegas have elected you to to do. And I'm not looking for my next office. I've already reached the
You've done
zenith.
that.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back home to do the job of the people that
Because
call
you care
Las Vegas home.
care so much about this city that you
I
call
love
home.
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
as do I.
Look,
as
we
do
grew
I.
up, my sister who's sitting right
Yeah.
here. We grew up here. We made a
Right.
life for ourselves in the
Right.
middle of the desert. Who would have figured that out?
If someone said to you 40 years ago that, and I don't want to jinx you, I do believe you're going to win, and we want people to get out and vote. But
Yes.
with that being said, if someone told you decades ago that you would be the mayor,
I thought I could be the I
believed it.
I
Yeah.
actually I thought about being mayor for decades.
Wow.
And at the time
and you just never ran.
I never ran. There were
Yeah,
other offices.
that's interesting.
Not all offices. People.
Yeah.
After I lost the Senate race a number of years ago, Senator Reid called me up and he said, "How would you like to be a federal judge?" I said, "No, thank you. No, I don't have the judicial temperament." And he said to me, he says, "I never would have dreamed you would say that." I said, "I've always run for jobs that I thought I could do and were in my wheelhouse." So it was never running for the sake of running.
And somebody else you were very close to, Harry Reid, of course. Yeah.
When I was a high school senior at Valley High School, there was two young guys running for the Nevada State Assembly. I started walking precincts for them. It was a '68 election.
Yep.
And I loved it. Fell in love with this ridiculous process that we have. One of them was Senator Reid, and one of them was Senator Richard Bryan. And what I love about this community is, and we became friends, and that was 1968 when they first ran. Again, I was a senior at Valley, but 30 years later, when I ran for Congress for the first time, both of them walked precincts for me. Can you imagine hearing a knock at the door, opening your door and seeing Harry Reid and Senator Bryan there?
That's
Whoa.
incredible.
Yeah, and they said we're walking precincts for our friend Shelley Berkeley.
That is so cool, and I'm so glad that it's the Harry Reid International Airport now. I'm so glad they named it. Let's be clear on that. That's important, and I'm glad that well. Let me say this in closing here, because I know you have a very busy day today. You have a lot of other places to go. I truly believe you're going to be a great mayor. I don't want to jinx you. We have an important day tomorrow. We need people to get out and vote for you.
Have to vote.
Absolutely. I have no doubt that you will represent this city and do such a wonderful job in the best of ways, because you care about the people here. You're from here. You've been here forever, and you understand what people in Vegas want, what they need, improvements that need to be made. You talked about that. So that's what we need to do. I'll give you the final pitch here before we go to break, and I really do appreciate you being here. And I think we need more women in powerful positions in this country. We already have some. We need more. And whether I'm talking about the president, whether I'm talking about CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, people that own casinos, or the mayor, I want to see more women in powerful positions. And it's an issue that Republicans seem to have. I'll leave it at that. But I would love to see you as our next mayor. And
Thank you so
I will
much.
give you the final opportunity to the prospective voters out there.
I just want to encourage everyone that hasn't voted yet to please get out and vote tomorrow. It's something that we as Americans not only have a right to do, we have a responsibility. If you love your country, if you want to make a difference, if you want to be the one that selects people that are going to represent you, don't miss this opportunity. There's no excuse for not voting. In Nevada, you could vote early, you could vote by mail, you could vote on election day. People across the globe walk for miles, days, in order to put an X on a ballot. Here, let's take advantage of our opportunity as American citizens to make a difference in our own lives. Get out there and vote, everybody.
Very well said, Shelley. And there's nothing more I'd rather do than on Wednesday to be able to call you the mayor. Just don't forget about your friend Brian when you become mayor, okay? All right.
No, I would never do that.
Well, Shelley, I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks a lot.
You already have my vote, and I know a lot of my listeners as well. So
Appreciate it.
There you go. Former Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley, who I believe is going to be the next mayor of the great city of Las Vegas, and I know she'll do a great job. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find that?
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America, and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit quincefornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday, one day before Election Day. Yes, so it's important to note that, we talk a lot about the presidency, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, but there's a lot of other elections. We just had Shelley Berkeley in studio. She's running for mayor in Las Vegas. But there are MAGA Republicans and crazies, as I would call some of them, that are running for school board positions, just like here in Las Vegas, all over the country. We got to make sure these people don't get into office, right? And one of the ladies that I'm talking about, she is a MAGA Republican. She was one of those people that was protesting outside of a Target store, yelling at people. I was one of them going in there. Remember that whole controversy with the LGBT shirts that were being sold at Target stores? Well, this woman is running for school board, and she was outside a Target protesting. This is the same woman who is shouting stuff at voters as they go in to vote at Desert Breeze here. She is a lunatic MAGA Republican. She did this show a few years ago. I criticized her. I want you to keep in mind, there are people like this that are running for office, MAGA Republicans across the country. This woman's name is Lorena Cardenas. Now, she came on this show, and I asked her, why is she so against Gay Pride Month? This was her answer. Lorena, that's a good topic to talk about. Why do you have a problem with Gay Pride Month? Why do you have an issue with that?
I think it's basically showing people and celebrating the fact that you didn't have any accomplishments in society. You didn't do any good for the community. You basically just want to be celebrated for how you have sex.
You want to be celebrated for how you have sex. By the way, I would also argue, what has this woman ever did besides protest outside of a Target store? What has she done for the community? And she's saying Gay Pride Month is all about celebrating how you have sex. No, it's not, you nitwit, you imbecile. It's about being able to be comfortable with who you are and celebrate who you are without bigots like her telling you what you should or shouldn't do. That's what Gay Pride Month is all about, you imbecile. And you know how Donald Trump lies about, oh, well, these kids, you just drop them off at school and they come back home another gender. Now, obviously, anybody who believes that has an extremely low IQ because it's a lie and it's just not happening. But this woman, Lorena, makes it sound like kids are just getting transgender surgeries and being put on, steroids or other things without parental permission, which is a lie. Have a listen to this. It's frustrating for me, which is this. You're making it sound like a 9 or 10 or 11 or 12-year-old could just walk in and see their doctor and get their penis cut off. Lorena, that's not how it works.
Yes, he could. Not exactly that age, but down the line, yes, they are already in treatment to do that. They are already in treatment to get their stuff chopped off. Yes, they are.
Oh my God, that argument went on forever. I have not invited her back on because she's a complete imbecile. And the fact that she is running for school board, if you're a parent and you listen to somebody like that, is that somebody you want working on the school board? There are people like this that are running throughout the country. Anyway, I wanted to get her opponent to come on, who seems like a very nice lady and a normal human being. Her name is Camilla Bywaters, and she joins us right now on the show. Ms. Bywaters, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Brian. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited. I was in the backstage like, oh gosh, help us.
Well, I got to ask you, what goes through your mind when you hear your opponent, and that's just, by the way, a small snippet of my interview with her. I mean, I could have played 20 different things that she said that are absurd and ridiculous. Let me start here, because obviously I want to ask about you and what you want to do for Clark County. But
absolutely,
what does it say about somebody that they wake up in the morning and they decide to protest outside of Target because they're selling pro-LGBTQ shirts? What does that say about your opponent?
Well, my concern is that if you are not able to be in community with our community at a Target, then you are not going to be able to do the challenging work that is required in one of the most diverse districts across the nation. Our district is very diverse with a student diversity, teacher diversity, support staff, administrative staff. And my concern is that she's unstable to lead our district forward with all of the challenges that we have. We don't have a superintendent. We have a teacher shortage. And I have not heard her talk about any of those issues because of her super hyper focused concepts that she's talking about with children.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that. You hear a lot of Lorena's, your opponent, talk about how teachers are indoctrinating our students. They're teaching critical race theory. And they're making it sound like these teachers are telling kids that they have to be transgender or they have to be gay. Lorena talks about that a lot. I wanted to get your thoughts on that and if you could comment on that.
Sure. So if you don't know, I'm a licensed special education teacher. I've been licensed since 2008. I have a master's in education, a master's in divinity, and I'm working on my PhD in special education. And I've also been able to train special education teachers for the field. And our focus as teachers is to educate students. We are not in schools. We should not be in schools teaching our ideologies to our students. That's not what education is about.
Right.
And I think that, that type of thinking is very dangerous for our students and our school community because we won't be able to move forward. It's going to be this individual having their ideologies and basically a dictatorship.
Right. I think that's very well said. And I remember going to a voter station This was a couple years ago. And as I was there, Lorena was there, and she was shouting at me. She was yelling at me. She was trying to intimidate me. And I heard a story from a personal friend of mine who did this show last week, who said she was at a local voting station area, and she was doing the same thing to him. These people are unhinged. And what's, obviously it's very, what's the word I should use here? It's very alarming that there are people like Lorena out there that are trying to, get onto the school board. But I think, as you know, Camilla, is that there are Lorenas all over this country.
Absolutely.
It's not just her, which I hope she doesn't win. You seem like a lovely lady, and I hope you win. But there are people all over the country like Lorena that are running for office that are unfit. They're crazy, like Donald Trump. They're nuts.
Yeah. So, I would like to say that I have actually received national endorsements from organizations across the country because they've seen how high the stakes are in Clark County. And when we thought, CCSD is in the news all of the time with all of the issues that are happening. And I'm thinking, are they working extra hard to burn it down? But I'm saying that to say is that all eyes have been on our public education system, and the support that I have received is so important because it shows that people across the country want to invest in our public education system to ensure that we have good leaders. I have the education, I have the background, I have the skills, but at this time, what we need is compassionate leaders who are going to respect all diversity of thought. And I think that's something else that I bring to the table. I've been able to pull very conservative thinkers to my side. And I love that because I'm able to work across party lines. This is about ensuring that we have good people in office who value our students and their families and value their culture and background and the diversity. And that's what I'm bringing into the space. And that's what our students and their families deserve.
I want to ask you this question as a Black woman living in this country. When you hear Donald Trump, and this is more of a national thing, but I want to get your thoughts on this. When you hear Donald Trump say that Kamala Harris turned Black, they're eating the cats and the dogs, talking about legal Haitian immigrants. When you see the Donald Trump comments he made in Chicago, and he says he's great for the Black community and Black people love him, he claims. And he also is being interviewed at a Black barbershop, and he says he feels like Black people can relate to him better because of his mugshot. I'm wondering what goes through your mind when you hear these things.
So I am a graduate of Howard University and Howard University School of Divinity. So big shout out to the work that Howard, the people that we're producing in society. It really is disheartening, as a Black woman who I'm working on my PhD, I have master's level education. It seems that when we're talking about white privilege and Donald Trump and these rude comments that he makes, it's really discounting our humanity. And that makes me sad. And, our community deserves better leaders than that. And it really does break my heart. And, I think about just all of the work that I've done to prepare myself for this space. Yeah. It's like we can never do, as a Black woman, it's like I can never be good enough to be a part of society. And that's why I'm running for the Board of School Trustees so that people can see themselves in me.
Well, I got to tell you something. Nothing would make me more happier than tomorrow, whatever we find out, that if you win and Kamala Harris, as a woman of color, is the first female president of all time, I think it'll be a monumental and historic day for this country. Before I let you go, and I really do appreciate you being here, can you please give out your website? We are one day, even though we have a national audience, obviously there are a lot of people here in Las Vegas that listen to the show as well. Give out the information of your website so before people go to the voting booth tomorrow, they know a little bit more about you.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Camila Bywaters. I'm running for the Board of School Trustees in District E. So if you live in the Summerlin area, northwest part of the valley, I'm on your ballot. My website is Camila4Nevadans.com. And you can email me, contact me. My phone number's on the website. And that's what I want to give to our community. I plan to be present. I've already been present. And whatever you need from me, I'm available.
And I'll just say this in closing. You are the opposite of your opponent. You're an extremely educated, well-informed, intelligent, accomplished woman. Your opponent is extremely ill-informed is a nice way of putting it. And I'm just going to, she's just an idiot. And that's just what I do. I'm just going to call her for what she is. She is a moron. She is unhinged. and she shouldn't be anywhere near a school, let alone being on the school board. So I want to be very clear on that. Well, hopefully we can have you back on after you win. Let's hope you get the result that we both want. And Camilla, I wish you the best of luck, and I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much
for the invitation. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we hope that she wins because her opponent is a MAGA nut, a MAGA imbecile nut and bigoted in nature. I want to be very clear on this. So speaking of idiots, I want to get this off my chest. I don't really pay attention to trolls on social media and what people say and what people do. In fact, sometimes I laugh at some of the stuff. But there are some MAGA morons on social media and some people even in person that have said to me, Brian, what are you going to do if Trump wins? Are you going to have a meltdown? What's going to happen to your show? Now, obviously, people who make statements like this are very dumb because you could make the argument that if Donald Trump does win tomorrow, my show could be more popular. Now, I don't want that. I want my show to be popular, but I don't want Donald Trump to win. Obviously, I want Kamala Harris to win, but most people would make the argument the show would be even more popular if Donald Trump wins. So for people that make idiotic statements like that, it does make me laugh, but it's so dumb. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. If Donald Trump wins, I'll be disappointed. There's no question. I'm not going to cry myself to sleep. I'm not going to go into a deep depression. My life will go on. I'm still going to enjoy doing this radio show, and I'm still going to have fun every day and spend time with my family and friends. I'm still going to live my life, and I'm not going to go into this deep depression and have a meltdown. I will be very disappointed. On the flip side, if Kamala wins, I'll be very happy. I'll be disappointed if Trump wins. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Am I going to have a meltdown? No, I'm not going to have a meltdown. I'm going to be disappointed. And I'm going to be a little worried about the future of this country, at least for the next 4 years, right? But it's not going to ruin my life. And listen, I'm not going to tell you all how to think. I can only speak for myself. And in speaking for myself, I can tell you, I think we're going to have the outcome that many of us want. This election is more about decency and a moral compass. This election is more about our Constitution, our democracy, and obviously a lot of other things that are on the table. We can get into policy. I can talk to you about policy. I can talk to you about how Kamala Harris wants to bring taxes lower for middle-class Americans down to 28% for those making under $400,000 a year. I can talk to you about how she wants to give women the right to choose what to do with their own bodies. If we're talking about policy, I can talk to you about how she wants the top 1% to pay their fair share, unlike Donald Trump, who gave the top 1% the biggest tax breaks in decades, because those are his friends, his billionaire friends. He doesn't care about you and me. I can talk to you about healthcare. Kamala Harris doesn't have concepts of a plan. We know what these Republicans want to do with Obamacare, with no replacement plan. We know what some of these Republicans want to do when it comes to Medicare, when it comes to Social Security benefits. Mike Lee said it himself. Mike Johnson spoke about it just the other day, caught on a video telling us what he will do with Obamacare. We know what these MAGA Republicans are going to do. We know what they want to do. We know what they, and listen, many of them also lie. Look at Project 2025. MAGA Republicans say, oh, no, Donald Trump doesn't have anything to do with that. Yes, he does. Cut the nonsense. Yes, he does. So if the argument is about policy, I can happily have that conversation with any MAGA Republican about why I'm voting for Harris. If we're just talking about policy, I think equally as important, maybe even more important, is I want a leader that's a decent human being. I want a leader that doesn't have, kids with multiple different wives, who's cheated on every woman he's ever had, who's a liable sexual abuser, who's a 34-count felon, who absolutely incited the January 6th insurrection. Somebody who's been sued thousands of times, discrimination lawsuits, because he didn't want black people living on his properties. Somebody who's been a snake oil salesman his entire life, who attacks anyone who disagrees with him. Kamala Harris, I believe, would be a president that will work with the other side. She said she will have at least one Republican in her cabinet. that a MAGA Republican will always have a seat at her table and she will listen to them. You hear Donald Trump, he's talking about people shooting at some of his political rivals. He's talking about people shooting at the media. How many fundamental differences do you need? If you have a moral compass, you are not voting for Donald Trump. If you are a decent human being with a moral compass, who cares about the American people, who cares about our democracy, it shouldn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. It should matter if you're an American and you care about the future of this country. If you want to blame undocumented immigrants for all of your problems, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to blame liberals and Democrats for all of your problems, you can go ahead and do that. I would recommend you look in the mirror and you take a look at yourself and you take responsibility for your actions. What type of America do you want? Do you want a diverse America as the first female president of all time who does care about your needs, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, who doesn't demean people that disagree with her? Or do you want somebody in Donald Trump who is mentally unstable, I would argue physically unstable, as someone who is a phony, who is a convicted felon, who's a liable sexual abuser, who has 30 plus women who have accused him of rape or sexual assault? How will you look at your wife? How will you look at your daughter in the eyes and say, I'm voting for that guy? The main reason why Donald Trump is running for office again is because he doesn't want to go to jail. Main reason why Donald Trump is running for office is because he cares about money in his pocket. He only cares about himself. He doesn't care about you. And if you're dumb enough to think that he does, then I'm sorry, you are mistaken and you are brainwashed and I can't help you. Go ahead and vote for your rapist felon. I can't help you. We have a very important day tomorrow. A day that'll be marked in time in history as probably the most important election in our lifetimes. And we have a very important decision to make for some of us, maybe that have not even made that decision yet, even though I find that hard to believe. Are you voting for democracy or are you voting for evil? Are you voting for decency or are you voting for the felon? Are you voting for intelligence and education or are you voting for a guy who bought his education from Daddy Fred? Are you voting for equality or are you voting for bigotry? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself. I'm not interested in getting into the weeds with you at this point on policy. It's very simple. This is more about decency and a moral compass in our democracy than it is about policy. I can get into policy debates with anybody. I do it on this show every day. Not today. You get into that voter booth, and if you're undecided, or you go into that voter booth and you think you're going to vote for Donald Trump, ask yourself this question. You care about your children's future and generations to come. Do you want a country that is for treating everyone with dignity and as equals? Or do you want a country that is going to attack others based on what they look like or based on what's between their legs? What type of country do you want? Now, if you want the latter and you want Donald Trump, then you're a bigot. If you want the latter and you want Donald Trump, then you're selfish. If you want the latter and you want Donald Trump, then I would seriously question your intelligence. At least many in Donald Trump's base. We have a decision to make. What is your decision? What are you going to do? Are you going to change the course of history? Are we going to put this MAGA Donald Trump guy to bed? Or do you want another 4 years of chaos? Ask yourself that question before you decide to vote if you haven't voted already. I've already made my decision and I've already voted. And it was probably the easiest decision I've ever made in my life. I've had harder decisions when I'm in the drive-thru at McDonald's, quite frankly. Hopefully Donald Trump isn't passing me off his burgers and fries. I don't want any orange makeup on my French fries. Call me crazy. So tomorrow on the show, we are going to have double duty. We are going to do our normal show, 12 to 2, with some very special guests. We're going to take a 2-hour break, call it an extended lunch break. And then we are going to be coming back at 4 p.m. We are going to go from 4 to 6 p.m., an extra 2 hours. An hour of that I will be collaborating, and we will be doing a show together, myself and Don Lemon. He's going to be in a studio in Washington, D.C. from the Kamala Harris headquarters. So we are going to be doing an extra 2 hours of the show. And an hour of that will be with Don Lemon. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And it's amazing, but tomorrow's the day, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow is the day. So a lot of you that ask, how can I get more involved in the PTL radio show? Let me give out my website. Subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. That's a big part of it. At PTL Radio Show on YouTube. Give me the thumbs up. Give me the likes. Be interactive. That's what we want. On my X, at PTL Radio Show. On my YouTube at PTL Radio Show. And then there's my website, pushingthelimits.live. We sell merchandise on there. Shirts, hats, beanies. It helps us keep the lights on here. It's an independently owned radio show. And we have some big news about this show coming forward after the elections that I plan to share with you. But for right now, check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. You check out the website. You can see the merchandise we're selling on there. As I mentioned, shirts, hats, beanies, and so on. And if you don't want to buy merchandise, there's a donate button right on that front page. $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can afford. We greatly appreciate it. And we appreciate your support of this show at pushingthelimits.live. And we also thank the official gaming bar of the PTL Radio Show, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great promotions, including the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games, where you can win up to $500 in free slot play. You have opportunities to win a free bottle of wine there and $50 in free slot play on Sundays. Check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Okay, everybody, we're one day out. 4 hours of PTL tomorrow, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful day. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, everybody. Have a great day.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands